Welcome back to round number 4 of our League Cup here at Psycho Turtle Collectibles in Pico Rivera, California. I'm Dennis Geisler. With me, Pikachu, of course. Round number 4, we've got two 3-0 competitors here facing off. We're getting into crunch time of this Swiss phase. Remember, 6 rounds of Swiss. We have 46 people here. We have two 3-0 players, Aaron Brok and Brian Collins. A win here. It doesn't lock you into Top Cut, but it gets things into a pretty good spot. Aaron with the Tyranitar, Corviknight, Primarina, Hisuian Decidueye, Electabuzz, and Volcarona, and Brian Collins bringing the SoCal Classic, the Psy Spam, Armarouge, Indeedee Female, Torkoal, Hisuian Ursaluna, Gallade, and Hisuian Lilligant. I'm gonna steal Brian's team. This team looks fun. I want to play this team. Brian, of course, with that Sun and the Psychic Terrain. Aaron with the Sand will not outspeed the Sun being set. Also the Electabuzz. I'm a huge Electabuzz fan, personally. It is Vital Spirit. I actually prefer Static because it's really annoying. But with the Eviolite, you get really tanky. You're very fast. You have pretty good special attack, just baseline. You have a lot of really nice moves. This one's got the Thunderbolt, the Feint, and the Taunt. It's a really nice Pokemon altogether. It's going to be the Psychic lead or a Psychic lead, I suppose, for Brian, with the Indeedee setting up the Psychic Terrain and the Gallade there on the field. That thing does some crazy damage with the Psycho Cut, with the Sharpness boost in the Psychic Terrain. The Indeedee getting the boost there. On the other side, it's Primarina and Electabuzz. I like seeing Electabuzz. It makes me happy seeing Electabuzz. That's just a personal thing. Primarina does have the Throat Spray. I think it's the exact same set as we saw in the previous game. Liquid Voice, Throat Spray with the Hyper Voice, and the Moonblast also has the Haze. Indeedee with the Follow Me. Electabuzz taunts into that slot now. So Indeedee now locked into its attacking move, which is Psychic. Hyper Voice gets sent out. Doesn't do all that much damage, but does get the Throat Spray, which is the important part. And Gallade gets the Trick Room up. We are now in backwards dimensions. This is where Sharpness would feel, or Static on the Electabuzz would feel really nice, because then he could follow me and fish for the Psycho Cut, Paralyze. That would feel really nice. In any case, also a lot of options here. I mean, the Moonblast would really light up Gallade here. I might have to switch out. Indeedee is locked into the Psychic right now because its other 3 moves are all status moves. Can't do that because of Taunt. And Indeedee will swap out. Going to be Ursaluna coming in here, so under Trick Room, it will be able to get its Flame Orb after this turn if it doesn't get status somewhere else. Gallade goes for the Wide Guard, blocking against another Hyper Voice. Electabuzz with the Follow Me. Hyper Voice would do a bunch of damage to Ursaluna, so probably smart to avoid that. Instead, it's just going to be the Moonblast into the Ursaluna. That's some real good damage there. Flame Orb gets up. Ursaluna now going to have to start pumping out some damage. Facade, Headlong Rush, Earthquake, Substitute. I believe Gallade can Wide Guard, actually, to block an Earthquake, if that's what Ursaluna wants to try out. But it might have to just Facade into the Primarina, do as much damage as possible. But it's Terra Steel, so it could scare off the Ursaluna, potentially. Gallade, of course, also threatening a ton of damage. Can't forget that. Electabuzz is Terra Ghost. And that Hisuian Ursaluna does not have the that Mind's Eye ability. Still going to completely whiff, goes for a Facade into that slot. Electabuzz will Terra Ghost. Oh, I like seeing Electabuzz so much. What a great guy. Electabuzz does go for the Follow Me. So if it slurps up a Facade, that'd be pretty bad for Brian. Indeed it does, and indeed it is. Doesn't affect Electabuzz. Another Moonblast into the Ursaluna drops that. And Aaron Brok in a great spot in game number 1 here. Blade does go for the Psycho Cut, goes pretty good damage into the Electabuzz. Not going to pick up the knockout. Torkoal will come out as the final Pokemon here. And it's slow in Psychic Terrain and all that. It does get the Sun up. It is Charcoal. You can go for just an Eruption here, but still feels kind of bad if you're Brian in this spot here. Indeedee still hanging out in the back there. Hasn't taken much damage at all, I think. Hasn't taken any damage. Or no, it took a Hyper Voice. But regardless, this Primarina hasn't been touched yet, and it's unclear how Brian exactly plans to take out this Primarina, to be perfectly honest. And Aaron has the Tyranitar in the back to switch into to get the Sun down. Be very important. Electabuzz will swap out. And Tyranitar does indeed switch in. Tyranitar the Radiant. I think this will become a very important very important part of this metagame is people aren't going to just lead their weather in the same way, because you are just going to allow that to happen, where that Eruption would have done pretty good damage if it were not swapped over to Sand, where it does normal damage and Tyranitar gets the special attack or special defense boost. Wide Guard did block the Hyper Voice out of Primarina, so that was pretty good for Brian, but a small plus in a lot of minuses. Could go for another Hyper Voice, or could go for a Moonblast to try to finish off the Gallade. The Tyranitar is Terraflying. Knock off, Low Kick, Rock Slide, Terra Blast with the Assault Vest. I think it's the same that somebody was running in the last game. Look, there are a lot of Pokemon that I have to witness here. And there's pizza. I'm trying to eat that pizza right now. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna see the Terra here for Brian. Gonna be onto the Gallade. Terra Fire. Makes it weak to the Hyper Voice. Gotta be concerned about that, but of course it has Wide Guard. Torkoal goes for the Clear Smog onto the Primarina. That does actually better damage than I would have thought, and also takes away the +1 from the Throat Spray. Does not matter because it still knocks out the Gallade with the Hyper Voice. Bit of a strange call out there. And Tyranitar knockoff, gonna pick up the rest of the damage onto the Torkoal. And the only Pokemon remaining is Indeedee, which cannot touch Tyranitar, so this battle is over. Eventually. I mean, we have to go through all the menus first, but Indeedee only has Psychic, and Tyranitar is a Dark type. So this battle is over. They could search for some information here, but I think Brian will preserve whatever information is left and cancel the battle. Aaron Brok with the Game 1 victory. Really nicely played just around that Primarina. Brian definitely got some early turn advantages up, but ultimately really good read on using the Moonblast into the Ursaluna slot as it came out. And Ursaluna was unable to do literally anything, which basically decided the battle. Brian will have to switch that up in game number 2. Can't let the Ursaluna do nothing because that was a lot of the damage. And Torkoal wasn't able to do anything because of the Tyranitar in the back. That is one of the downsides of this team. It gets a little bit one-dimensional when the other team... I mean, I'd be curious to see what this team does against a team, for example, with both Pelipper and Rillaboom on it, or something like that, or Rillaboom and Tyranitar. Like, some way to overwrite both the terrain and the weather. Because in this case, Brian gets kind of predictable because you basically have to run the Psychic Terrain mode, for lack of a better way to put it, and you have to get up Trick Room turn 1. You do have 3 Pokemon that can set Trick Room, of course, but you're really forced into it. We didn't even see all of Aaron's Pokemon that game. Only saw 3 of them on the field, I believe. I honestly did not pick up what the last Pokemon was. We saw the Tyranitar, the Primarina, and the Electabuzz. Game number 2. Brian trying to pull this one back. Gonna be the classic Indeedee Armarouge lead here. Now keep in mind, Armarouge not actually packing Wide Guard here, so it will take some mad damage against Hyper Voice. Indeedee not so much on account of its special defense boost from the Psychic Seed and also not being weak to it. See if Aaron wants to go for a similar play as last time. Primarina is actually going to switch out, maintain the Throat Spray. Tyranitar will come in. This isn't a bad play because Tyranitar doesn't really get hit by these Pokemon. The only move that actually does anything is Armor Cannon, and that does not do much. Armarouge going to Terra as well, Terra Grass, so it wouldn't have been weak to Hyper Voice anyway, so great call by Aaron, to be perfectly honest. Indeedee goes for the Helping Hand, actually, into the Armarouge, so might just be going for damage right now. Electabuzz gets the Taunt off, so it won't be able to Trick Room. But it might be going for just a big Expanding Force. Indeed it is, and obviously Tyranitar immune. We'll see how much this does to Electabuzz. Does it pick up the knockout? No, 6 HP remaining. But the Sandstorm finishes it off. No harm, no foul for not picking up the KO there, but Tyranitar still a big threat to both these Pokemon, and Brian is going to have to do quite a bit of switching to manage to deal with this guy. Question as well, what could the other Pokemon be? Because you need something that will deal with... Ultimately, the problem is going to end up being the Ursaluna and or the Gallade that are presumably in the back. The only things that can deal with this Tyranitar. So you need something that'll threaten those two when they come in. Volcarona is what comes in here, unrelated. It does have Citrus Berry, but it is a Quiver Dance variant. Quiver Dance, Giga Drain, Heat Wave, and Protect. I think you have a frankly pretty free Quiver Dance here. I don't think that I'm scared of Armarouge if I'm Aaron. I don't think I'm scared of these Pokemon on the field. No switches. We'll see what a big knockoff does to Indeedee potentially. Obviously, it has already used its item, so it doesn't pick up the knockout. It might be able to get the Trick Room down. Expanding Force will only hit the Volcarona. Does have +1 special defense as well, and takes a little under half, so not into Citrus Berry range. Indeedee does get the Trick Room up. Keep in mind, Tyranitar is pretty slow. Volcarona does get the +1 speed, so that's not going to do much. Volcarona is also probably going to get buffeted by the Sandstorm into range here, actually. Into Citrus Berry range. Yeah, there you go. So it'll get a nice little chunk of health back. Not really in danger of getting knocked out by the next Expanding Force. And Aaron might just spend a couple turns trying to stall out this Trick Room as much as possible and keeping the advantage here. Because remember that Volcarona is probably the best answer for this Ursaluna, particularly now that the Terra has been burned. Volcarona will protect. Indeed, he goes for a Nice little follow me. Not going to redirect much of anything. Armorers with another expanding force, but does not do anything to anyone. The only other move is Armor Cannon, and that's going to do absolutely nothing to Tyranitar. Goes for the Rock Slide, picks up the knockout onto Indeedee. We know now for sure that Tyranitar is faster than the Armorers. Not shocking, but Tyranitar does have the ability to get pretty slow if it wants to be. Armor shakes off the taunt, not that it matters too much, it can protect now most crucially. Torkoal in. Let's get the sun up. Might mean T-Tar wants to switch out and switch back in potentially, but I'm also not very afraid of Torkoal right now. I should be more afraid of Torkoal. We should all be more afraid of Torkoal. We don't know what the last Pokemon is for Brian's side. Volcarona does also have Heat Wave though. It can just do a bunch of damage with its, like, fire moves. Torkoal goes for a big Eruption. We'll see what this does. Does not knock out the Volcarona. It is a +1, remember. Armorage gets the Expanding Force off, and that will finish off the Volcarona. This could get a little bit dicey for Aaron if the Ursuline, well, regardless of what's in the back, as long as it's not the Hisuian Lilligant. Oh, the Hisuian Lilligant could still be pretty dicey at this point because he can't switch out the Tyranitar. Armorage is going to drop to the Rock Slide. Torkoal going to take a pretty big chunk of damage as well. And it'll be Primarina coming in as the last mod for Aaron. Coming back in. And it is the Hisuian Lilligant, actually, for Brian as the last Pokemon. Not what I expected. A nice little come in on the end there. Does mean that while you're still in Trick Room, your insane speed as Hisuian Lilligant turns into actually a pretty big downside. Torkoal goes for a Heat Wave now that it's lower on the whole HP. Primarina goes for a big Moonblast into Hisuian Lilligant. Not going to pick up the knockout. 1 HP away. Gets the Focus Sash. Does drop the special attack. Not that that meant anything. And the knockoff finishes off the Lilligant. Nice play there by Aaron. Get the Lilligant. Keep it from doing anything. And it looks like Aaron Brok is going to clean up this 2-0 victory. I don't think this Torkoal is going to get anything done. And yep, battle's canceled. Aaron Brok with the 2-0 victory to move to 4-0 on the day. Brian Collins at 3-1, still cooking in this tournament. We will probably see him in top cut as well. But regardless, really, really impressive victory there by Aaron. Just kind of had the battle handled every time, and it didn't feel like there was a ton of damage getting unloaded in that matchup, but really found the right opportunities to get the damage ranges needed. And that Tyranitar has so much defensive utility, so much special defense with the Sand, with the Assault Vest, and just so many stats regardless. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to eat some pizza. We'll be back for round number 5, crunch time for Swiss. Don't go anywhere.